This is GB in America. Switching gears slightly, I've got Lady Victoria Hervey in the studio with me. Lady Victoria Hervey.
Hello.
Always a pleasure to talk to you, as usual.
Yes.
So, Victoria, where do you want to start with this? Because there's a lot being happening in Royal Towers.
Yes, there is.
Where should we go? Should we start with King Charles? He's made a very heartbreaking plea to his sons for his final years amid their sort of ongoing feud.
I mean, this is a feud that it's carried on now for many years, right? And it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. You'd think with his health conditions, they would have possibly tried to make a bit of an effort, but I just don't see that happening.
Well, you know, it's tricky, isn't it, when some of the things that Harry has said with regard to Catherine, which weren't particularly pleasant, and some of the things he said about Camilla, which weren't particularly pleasant. He called her dangerous. And yet, if anyone says anything bad about Meghan, he's the first to fight. So he needs to understand.
And then he has the whole, like, Sussex squad on Twitter just, you know, destroying everybody.
Well, he would say that he's not in charge of that, and that's their thing, you know.
Who knows? But, yeah, it's a very, like, sad state of affairs, really, because I don't know how that's going to improve. And, you know, even now with Charles, he's sort of made it quite clear that he doesn't really want to take that time to see Harry. Has he? Like, you know, when Harry was in England recently, you know, he was
is it down
busy.
to him to take time, or is it down to Harry, who is visiting to come and see him, especially when the King's got cancer?
Well, and the problem is,
fair.
Harry, when he visits, he comes for like an hour. Like, actually, no, he needs to spend some time here.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he's bitter. Frogmore got taken away from him. I mean, that was a wedding gift from the Queen. So...
Well, but he's not really respected it, has he? And he hadn't written spare by then, had he?
No, but if you think about it, still, the fact is that was a wedding gift from the Queen. Then the Queen dies, and suddenly Charles kind of takes everything into his own hands and has new rules, you know, just like we're seeing in the Duke of York situation with his house. That is his house. You know, he has a lease on that house. They can't just take it away.
But they can, and they will. What does he need 30 bedrooms for? What
does Charles need another house? So he apparently
we don't know what he's going to do with
I do. So he apparently wants his house for Camilla. Now, how does Camilla need another house?
Hey, that's his woman. That's his woman.
I know, but how many houses do they have? They've got Windsor Castle. Why have a house that the Yorks have lived in for 20 years?
Well, why do they have to keep the house?
Plus, they have the Queen's corgis, and why displace the corgis? And obviously, you know, Prince Andrew, who was the favourite son. I just find it really quite disgusting.
But he's the king, so he's the king, and
but,
he's the boss, and if he doesn't want them in that house...
you would think someone like him, who has got a couple of years to live maximum, that he would actually be nice to his family members.
But that's not necessarily being nice. I mean, look,
he's not.
I hear that he's supposed to paint the outside of this house every 5 years. He's supposed to do all the upkeep.
I'm sure the painters are going to be... The painters will be going in.
But how's Andrew being upkeeping? I don't think, when I was reading about it, sounds like he's let a few things go.
It will be. But how does Charles, you know, being sick, you would think if you're dying of cancer...
He might not be dying.
Might not be dying, might recover for a couple of years. But you would think if you're in that position, you become nice to everybody. You don't get, like, so bitter.
But why is that bitter? Taking away something that somebody has that they don't need. So just, like, this is a 30...
Why does Camilla need another house? Tell me.
Let me finish what I was going to say, and I'll come back to that. This is a 30-bedroom, 30 million property.
It's not 30 bedroom, 30 room maybe, but it's like
30
only...
rooms, 30 rooms. OK, yeah. 30 rooms, 30 rooms, whatever. It's a mansion, frankly. He doesn't need 30 rooms. There's only 2 of them. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Also, it is the king is in charge, so the king can do what he likes.
Right. And
also, Andrew has been in this position where a lot of people will view him as somebody who has disgraced the monarchy, whether that's fair or not. So why shouldn't the king move him to Frogmore Cottage, which is very nice?
Yeah, but why should he have to go to Frogmore?
Why not?
But why does... So the whole thing is that it costs $400,000 a year to maintain with security. Well, it doesn't matter who's living there. It'll still that bill will still have to be paid, so it doesn't really make a difference.
He also gives Andrew, isn't it, $3 million as well a year and things.
I don't know.
So Andrew Andrew's sitting on a nice little deal here. He's got a house, he's got money.
But let's remember, he was falsely accused. Like, all those, you know, those allegations are not real, and so he's never admitted to anything. He was tried by the media and social media. And, why should he have to give it up?
Well, he wasn't found guilty of anything, but the perception of his association with Jeffrey Epstein, when people knew what Jeffrey Epstein was about, a lot of people had already worked out that he wasn't a great guy by all accounts. But this is the point. So you asked the question. You asked the question, so I'm replying.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in hindsight that we knew what kind of a person Jeffrey Epstein was turning out to be.
Did you know 10 years ago what he was, 15 years ago, 20 years ago?
No, but he was already there were already allegations towards him when Andrew was actually, friend was with him and actually appeared with him when people...
Once in the park that was set up by Jeffrey.
But that is, unfortunately... Yeah. Unfortunately, and as I said, Andrew hasn't admitted to anything. No one's blaming him for anything because we simply don't know. Unfortunately, the perception, that is not good for royal perception. So therefore, he has been sidelined. Yeah. So therefore, there is no need for him to be in such a plush location when he's not even a working royal, is he?
Well, he should... everything that was taken away from him, that was supposed to be temporary. That was temporary while he fought Virginia in court as a private citizen.
How do you know it was temporary?
I know this.
How?
This is well known. I'll have to bring you the notes, but this is well known. It was supposed to be temporary while he fought as a private citizen. Well, he actually never fought her, did he? Because it never went to court. So everything was supposed to come back to him. Unfortunately, the Queen was very weak, and her little minions around her seemed to have the final say.
Well, maybe she made the right decision on this, but all he's been asked to do, let's get this straight, and to...
But I was connecting that to Harry losing Frogmore,
all he's been asked to do, let's compare ourselves to real people in the real world, is simply move from one mansion to another very plush area, which he'll still get money and all the things he has, but he doesn't,
But it's the principle, right?
Yeah, but a lot of people were looking on that thinking, what a spoiled brat.
It's the principle of King Charles. If my older brother was doing that to me, and I was in a situation where I'd been falsely accused, and my half-brother...
But we don't know whether, he hasn't been found guilty of anything, but we can't call the accusation false.
They are false, and you'll know about it soon.
Well, when we hear about it, then we'll call it that, but...
Okay.
In the meantime, we don't know, do we?
Okay, on to the next thing. Right, Meghan next.
So what do you got? What about Fergie, though? Because she's chosen not to judge Meghan and Harry, hasn't she?
She's talked to... Well, I thought we were going to talk about, the curtsying. So Meghan
we can get to
apparently...
That,
she was taught to curtsy by the Duchess of York. I'm sure she wasn't told to curtsy in the way she actually did it. I think she added her own little spin to that, obviously, when they filmed the documentary. Look, Meghan's very calculating. She jumped from boyfriend to boyfriend. She was living with her ex-boyfriend when she went on the first date with Harry. Yeah. That is all, well known.
Well, when I went on blind date... I did.
Did you do that?
Tell you the truth, I had a boyfriend. I did, yeah. So sue me.
But I just feel like if she's done that to him, she'll do that to Harry, and then she will move on from Harry at some point. Imagine he loses his visa, right? If this thing actually does blow up and Biden administration can't protect him, and actually. His visa gets revoked. Where are they going to move to? Nigeria?
Well, she's 43% Nigerian. She'll be welcome there, as long as she covers her shoulders, because the first... So
I'm sure they're, maybe weighing up their options of, what country they can actually go to at this point.
Well, that's why they're now touting around Ghana, which is where my family are from. I'm waiting to hear what percentage of Ghanaian she turns out to be, because that'll be most interesting.
It's a little bit like Kamala Harris, how she would kind of switch, where she's from, just to suit... the audience.
And now, finally, Meghan Markle, her makeup artist and very close friend, apparently, he's revealed that he hasn't done a work with her for years, and now she does her own styling.
I don't know if I believe that completely. I mean, I'm sure she's got hair and makeup every so often. I'm sure she's not doing her own makeup. She's too vain for that.
Do you think? Well, why would you if somebody else would do it for you?
I mean, she's probably just, she's well known to, discard people in her life as her life progresses. Look at the wedding. There were people that she'd met once at her wedding and, her old friends were not invited.
Or even her cousin. Was it her cousin who she claimed couldn't come because...
Well, I don't think just her cousin. I think her whole, family members, but friends. Like, she invites people like Oprah Winfrey. Do you know, like, this is the kind of person that she is.
She invited the Beckhams as well, apparently, didn't she? And I don't think they're talking either after stuff that's gone on there too.
Right, she did something to Victoria, probably.
It's all a disaster for her. Listen, Lady Victoria Harvey, thank you very much.
See you.
It's such a pleasure. Oh, that is Lady Victoria Harvey.